Well, good morning. Welcome back to the Broadcast Retirement Network. I'm Jeff Snyder. This is BRN AM for Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. And our top story today, will older individuals avoid nursing homes post-pandemic? And joining me now to discuss this and a lot more, Minjoon Lee is a visiting scholar at the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College. He's also an associate professor of economics at Carleton University. Minjoon, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we're talking about some really important research that you did as a visiting scholar along with the rest of the team for the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College. All right, let's talk about nursing homes, because here in the States, and I know you're in Canada, nursing homes before the pandemic served a very important role. A lot of people lived in them. Were served by the caregivers, etc. What was the experience during the pandemic?
Well, from the media, we saw many articles about a large number of COVID deaths that happened at nursing homes, and also, worsened living conditions in the nursing homes. Many staffs actually left the nursing homes because they are worried about exposure to COVID. And as a result, many residents were not fed at the right time, and also they were dehydrated. So it was not just exposure to COVID itself. Many elder, residents at the nursing homes, they experienced these worsened living conditions. And this is what happened in Canada, and I'm pretty sure similar things also happened in the US, and many people are aware of this situation.
Yeah, and I recall hearing about this in the U.S., and I have to think that it happened in a lot of places. I mean, I understand it. Let's talk about post-pandemic. So, obviously America, like Canada and other countries, it's an aging country. We have a lot of people getting older, including myself. Sometimes I feel it more days than other days. And what's the perspective of people using the nursing home going forward? Has this tainted the nursing home for many Canadians as well as Americans?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, with the aging populations, long-term care is a really big issue, right? We know that many people will need a long-term care at least at some point in their life before they pass away, with the lengthening life expectancy. And as you mentioned, the nursing homes played a very important role providing adequate long-term care to the people that need long-term care. But as we learned from our survey, now 70% of the Canadians are, they're reluctant to enter in nursing homes after seeing all the bad things that happened in the nursing homes. And here I want to highlight that our survey didn't ask about what will be their choice during the pandemic. We surveyed those people who are in their 50s and 60s, and we asked them, okay, in 10, 20 years, if you happen to need long-term care, what would be your choice? And then 70% of people said that, I'm not interested in entering the nursing homes. And this shows that the impact of the pandemic has a persistent impact on the demand of the households. So we need to figure out, okay, if the nursing homes are not, desired by the consumers, what will be the alternative? And that's why we also focused on in-home care, which is receiving long-term care by staying at people's own home and hiring someone to come over to their house to provide long-term care.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about the cost, because long-term care isn't inexpensive; it's more expensive. And if you're living longer, theoretically, you're using more of it. Is there a savings if I don't go to a nursing home? But if I bring someone in home, is that cheaper or more expensive? And what does that do? You're a visiting scholar at the Center for Retirement Research.
Right.
Part of that research is around saving. What does it mean to save?
Exactly. So which option is more expensive? It really depends on where you live, whether you are in Canada or in the US. And also it depends on your family situation, whether there is any person who will be able to help you if you decide to stay at your home and receive long-term care. So let me start with the Canadian case, because how the nursing home stay is financed is slightly different from the US, because in the US you either are eligible for Medicaid, so the entire cost is covered by the Medicaid, or you are not eligible for any subsidy. But in Canada, it's not the case. Everybody has access to subsidies, so it's more universal. But the amount of the subsidy you are eligible would depend on your financial situation. But for receiving long-term care at home, there is no such subsidy in Canada. So if you compare the expense between the nursing home and the in-home care, as a result of more generous subsidy for nursing homes, in-home care is disproportionately more expensive. Now, when we come to the US, nursing homes itself is already very expensive, right? It easily costs $100,000 per year to enter a nursing home. But still, if you want to use in-home care without any help from your family member, it is going to be very costly, because you not only have to pay to the caregivers, but also you have to outsource some of the house chore, right? If you need a long-term care and by yourself paying at your home, you need to outsource some of this housekeeping to someone else. You still have to pay the rent or the mortgage or any cost that is needed to maintain your house. So considering all these things, if you do not have any access to family help, I would say in-home care can be more expensive than nursing homes, even in the US.
Yeah, as I'm hearing you describe this, whether I live in Canada or the US, if I'm thinking about in-home care, I'm going to have to save a lot more. I think I'm going to have to work a little bit longer. Minjoon, I need to take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about the perspective on nursing homes. You're going to want to stay tuned right here on BRN AM. Imagine a new television network that will make you richer, healthier, and in control of your financial future. This network is for the policewoman in Nashville, Tennessee, the baker in Dubuque, Iowa, the teacher in Lexington, Kentucky. We want to make the idea of savings and retirement culturally relevant. But what do you see as a defining issue of the midterms, especially for the smaller businesses? I mean, they are the lifeblood of the American economy. Featuring exclusive interviews, current affairs, and docuseries. 33 years old, you retired early.
The philosophy is money only matters if it helps you live a life that you love.
But you got to start thinking about retirement as soon as you get in.
The Broadcast Retirement Network will drive very high engagement with premium partnerships. So this isn't retirement and savings for your parents or grandparents. This is for all Americans. And we're going to change the way you think about money. Welcome to the next frontier of retirement and savings. This is BRN, the Broadcast Retirement Network.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-504-8194.
Welcome back. We're joined this morning by Minjoon Lee. He's a visiting scholar for the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College. Minjoon, thanks so much for staying with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, let's pick up the conversation because obviously end of life and long-term care are very important as the world ages. And by the way, we just did a show yesterday on the world population reaching 8 billion plus people. So this is not a problem that's going to go away. More and more people aging, medicine's getting better. Let's talk about policymakers, because a lot of people in Washington in Canada, so here in the States, and policymakers in both countries are reading the research that you and the Center for Retirement Research are doing, what do you think they need to take away from this? Is it more subsidization, more programming, more focus on savings, or all the above?
So I think the first step is to understand what people need. And many people are saying that I would prefer in-home care. That's the preferred form of long-term care. Then the policymakers first need to understand what people really need to receive adequate level of long-term care by staying at their home. And again, if we talk briefly about in the situation in Canada, as I said earlier, in-home care is disproportionately more expensive. So people are actually aware of this. And we asked them whether they are planning to save more to finance their in-home care. Many people are saying yes. And at the same time, if we put all this burden on individual savers' shoulders, then it's going to be too costly for them. So they are also expressing that they have a preference for any type of a policy that subsidizes in-home care. And they are saying, I would be okay even if that is financed by, more tax. And what we have examined is, again, people's opinion in Canada. Now, when it comes to, what this means for the U.S. households and the U.S. policymakers, at this stage, I would admit that this is more like a conjecture. But I wouldn't be surprised that the U.S. people also plan to save more if they plan to use in-home care, and they would also welcome any policy that subsidizes in-home care more than what the current states are doing.
And is one of the other takeaways, when before my generation, maybe my grandparents' generation and the generation before that, at least here in the U.S., and I have to think it's the same in other cultures, other countries, the family members took care of the older family members. They were revered. They were respected. And so are we possibly, you can only save so much. You can only work so much depending on the type of job you have. If you have a real physical job, it's really hard at 80 years old to get on top of the bridge and weld steel. So are we looking to maybe a reversion back to familial care and maybe families coming back together?
I think that is one possibility because, if people do not want to go to the nursing homes, one solution is to rely on their family members, informal care by the family members. But at the same time, we need to understand that this informal caregiving is also pretty burdensome to the children of the sick elderlies because they might be still working and they may need to take some time off from their work for like 1 or 2 years. And there is many research showing that, taking the time off from your work and trying to go back to the labor market after giving care to the elderly is very costly because you will not be able to find a job again, or you may face some lower wage than what you were receiving before you were leaving the job. So even though, people have some preference for in-home care, we cannot say, this gap can be just filled by the informal caregiving by the family members. I think there is some more room for the government to fill in by providing more affordable care at home, by, for example, subsidizing, hiring someone at your home to provide the care to the elderly, or the U.S. people.
And I would say, I don't know what the case is in Canada. I think it's probably pretty similar. Caregivers are hard to come by, and they're not remotely paid at the level that they probably should be paid for the work they're doing. I guess my last question, Minjoon, is around the nursing homes. Is there a lesson here for them as private entities that have been providing services? Is this about adaptation and continuous change? Some lessons learned from the pandemic and really how to meet your customers where they want to be met?
Right. So as I said earlier, what we are seeing in those surveys is potentially persistent impact on the consumer demand. Many people are saying no to the nursing homes. Now, if I were a manager of a nursing home, I would not see what is a good solution to this situation. But probably this is talking about a more strict quality control at the nursing homes, so that even if we have another pandemic for another potential disease, they make sure that there are enough staff staying at the nursing homes. They make sure that the people are not suffering from, lower quality of living by staying at the nursing homes.
Yeah, well, certainly got to improve the product, got to make sure that your customer is happy, whether they're elderly and the family. I mean, there's multiple customers there. There's the person that's receiving the care and receiving the support, but there's also the family. They have to be made aware. They have to see the good quality, and that's going to help them in the future when they want to invest in a nursing home or nursing home and long-term care. Minjoon, we're going to have to leave it there. Great research, as always, from you and the folks at the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you and the team back again very soon, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jeff. It was my pleasure.
Thanks, Minjoon. Great to see you. Thanks for sharing your perspective. And that wraps up this episode of BRN AM. Have a topic of interest, somebody you think we should talk to, drop us a line. And don't forget, for all the latest security news and lifestyle, wellness, finance, tech, so much more and all in one place, check out today's edition of our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse. Want to search our archives, check out our latest content, we'll visit our website, and of course, all of our streaming partners. We're back again tomorrow for another edition of BRN AM. Until then, I'm Jeff Snyder. Stay safe, keep on saving, and don't forget, roll with the changes.
Waiting here for you to take and drink of. But if you're tired of the same old,
Now is your opportunity to co-create content around any topic on the First Lifestyle and Wellness Network. Reach a global audience through our platform and co-own exclusive branded content. All of our programs are available on demand and also as audio-only podcasts, so you can take us on the go. Broadcast Retirement Network, available anytime, anywhere, and on any device.